Hi, y'all. I'm Allison. I'm all ready for another school day at Orilium Academy doing the Magical Readathon, and this will be my fourth day of classes, even though it is clearly August the 8th. That's right, I'm behind, which, we kind of expected. And if you look at my schedule for the day, it's a busy one. But I've been looking forward to this one. I'm up for the challenge today. It's been kind of a slow pace start. So today we're going to amp it up. Hopefully I'll still feel that way at the end of the day, but we will see. Before I can run off to class though, we got to find out which of the fate cards slid under Nasila's door this morning. So let me grab the deck. By the way, in case you missed the last video, I do have a playlist down in the description, and it will be at the end too. The Fate deck was introduced in the third day on Monday. Now here it is. Okay. I'm a little nervous. Could be something good, bad, or indifferent. And considering how busy today is, and yeah, this could really... Okay, ready? We're just going to take the top one. Clean a dorm room. Find 4 books to donate and haul. I like that. So in between my classes, I will find 4 books and add them to my unhaul pile. So I guess one of the girls decided that Nasila's room was a mess and she needed to clean up and get rid of some stuff. So that will work. It's not going to affect my schedule at all today. This is nice. Know whether I'll be able to successfully find 4 books. I don't know, but we can worry about that later. All right, let's pull up my schedule again and take a look at what I've got ahead of me. So my first class is Restoration. Let me find the book. All right, it's When Night Breaks, and this is a YA fantasy. This is the first YA fantasy I'll be reading this month. I'm kind of ready for the change. All right, I'm going to rush to this class, and then I'll be back. Okay, I just did a mad dash all the way across campus to make it to this class, only to be sent on my way. Apparently, for Restoration, you have to begin this book before you go to bed because it's supposed to help you learn how to fall asleep. So I actually don't have a class for this morning or even this afternoon because it was supposed to be on my schedule twice for the day. Instead, I'm supposed to read it for 1 hour right before I go to bed tonight. So this will be tacked on to the very end of my day. And yeah, that's what the teacher wants. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, for this one, we had a prompt, and it was you had to start your book before bedtime. And I'm far enough behind on this already. I'm not going to wait for a night class to hopefully appear. So I'm just going to not go to my morning or afternoon class and tack this on to the very end of the day and read it before bed tonight for 1 hour. So I will essentially be losing another hour of class time with this book. Because we like complicating things here. So I guess I need to find out what my next class is. I get to go on to shapeshifting class. That's my next one for the morning. And I will be spending more time with Abraham Lincoln as he tries to kill all the vampires in the area. He's very angry. So he's still young. I think he's only like 16 at the point where I am. All right. I'm going to rush to this class. Let me look and see what time it is actually. It looks like I'm just gonna squeak under because it is 10:49 and I need 1 hour with this book. So I have 11 whole minutes to get started on this one. I better go. I will see y'all when I'm done. I finished my class. Man, this scene is violent. There's some scenes where my stomach was just kind of rolling a little. It's very graphic when it gets to the actual vampire hunting part, and touches on slavery, and that I ended my day on that scene right in the middle of it, and it was not a good way to end my reading. It left a bad taste in my mouth, and then that was the first thing I had to dive into today for my reading, and not the way I necessarily wanted to start my day out. I am liking the book. I think definitely falls under the horror category. I like the history aspect of it. Just when I think I can't handle the gore anymore, it gets back into the historical side of it. So I keep going up, and this is one hell of a roller coaster ride. Probably be a really good October read if you want a horror book. This would fit. All right, but that's the end of that class for the day. I read this one again on Monday, so I get a nice break from it. I am liking that I'm getting this one in small doses. It makes it a little easier to handle. Oh, which brings me to something I wanted to mention and ask if y'all are finding this as well. The first time I did this, I really liked how it forced me to just read a part of a book and then set it aside and come back to it later, because I felt like I was getting a lot more out of them. You know, it gives you time to think about what's happening, or the buildup and the anticipation, waiting to see what's going to happen, you know, because inevitably I know I'm going to be stuck on some cliffhangers going, I want to know. So that's definitely my favorite aspect of doing this whole thing, which is why I'm so excited for today. I want to reach a point where I'm like, yes, I want to continue. So far, it's been, most of them have been like, okay, I'm ready to set it aside, or oh, thank God I get a break. But, you know, I'm still at the beginning of all of my books. So I have a feeling once I start getting into, you know, these second reading sessions with them, that's when it's all going to start coming into play, because I'm, you know, going to become more invested and familiar with the characters. So we'll see if that's what happens at the end of my day. Okay, so for my afternoon classes, here's what I'm looking at. Bog Cataloger is my next one. I get 2 hours with this puppy. Yay. I wasn't too impressed with this one yesterday. So it's impossible, and so far it's looked like it's going to be impossible for me to love this book. But we will see. So with only an hour, I got pretty far into it. So I'm wondering how close I'll get to the end with 2 hours today. This one is a super fast, kind of feels like a superficial read. And I don't necessarily like the characters. It's kind of, you know, not like Other Girls kind of thing. And this one actually has there's a rape in it at the beginning. And it was glossed over. It was like a paragraph at the most, maybe 2 or 3 lines, but and there's a creepy guy who's obviously supposed to be a fae. He's supposed to be a fairy, but yeah, so I am not digging it so far. So too bad I can't unhaul. You know, I mean, I could, but I'm not going to unhaul this book. I'm not going to DNF it. I am going to at least do my 2 hours today with it. Then I may, you know, opt to drop a class. We will see. I don't know. I think I'm going to take a break for lunch and everything. It's just now noon, so I've got till 6 p.m. to read this puppy, because my other afternoon class, if you see here, is restoration, and I can't go to that class until I start that book late tonight. So Impossible is my only one for the afternoon. All right, never rambling. I will see y'all on the flip side. You know, sometimes in life you just have to admit defeat, and this is one of those times. I cannot read this. This is just, I can feel my anger growing as I read, and I'm getting beyond annoyed and rolling my eyes. I have tried forcing it. I've picked it up and I can only read like a few pages at a time, and then I put it back down and I try again. I can't do it. And the only reason I'm trying so hard is I've already put so much time into this. This is a 2-hour time block. I don't want to start over with a new book, because I'm starting to get nervous about my schedule, because there are so many books and it's already the 8th. And I'm no, I feel like I'm not making any progress at all. So I keep telling myself, you can do it. Just keep going, keep going. And I'm telling you, it's these past 5 pages. I don't even know that I can take this one to half price book. That's how bad. Yeah, it just, she's, okay, I'm going to spoil this one because I don't want, do not go get this book. There's the Scarborough Fair, the poem, and there's a song, you know, there's 3 tasks within it, and this family's been cursed, and they have to lift the curse, they have to complete these impossible tasks within the song. I love the premise, and I was really curious about it, and that's the only reason I have continued on. The way the curse works is the women have to complete these impossible tasks, otherwise they will go mad when their child is born. And apparently part of it is they get pregnant in 17 and then, you know, go mad. So supposedly Lucy, the main character in this one, is going to break this curse with the help of Zach, the next door neighbor that she's now crushing on. Her mother shows up at her school. Lucy's on the track team, and her mom's homeless with a shopping cart, you know, dressed as a bag lady. She's yelling things and everything. Lucy won't admit that that's her mom, but she's, you know, traumatized by it. And then there's this, she lives with this wonderful foster family that works with troubled teens, you know, for unwed mothers and along those lines. So helping girls, which is all fine and good. But it's, oh. And then this guy shows up at her foster mother's work wanting to get a job there. And even though there's no position available, they're like, oh yeah, you have to interview him, you have to talk. And they end up interviewing him. And for unknown reasons, they create a job position for him to work there with these teenage girls. And he's so creepy and gives you the skeeves. It's obvious he's fey. And sure enough, Lucy gets invited to prom. This will be a first date with this boy who's really sweet. Her mom shows up on prom night whenever they're going out the door, because like I said, she's homeless and lives in the area. She knows Lucy's foster mom and all the family and everything. So the mom starts throwing bottles and everything at Lucy while they're on the front porch. The boy that's supposed to take her to the prom runs off. And then he comes back a little bit later, and Lucy decides to go ahead and go to the prom with them. And then while she's there, everybody's leaving the prom, and those two go back into the building, I think to get his keys or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And then he pulls her like into the cloakroom and rapes her. And the rape scene is like, I think 2 lines long. And it just says that, you know, she's saying no or thinking of giving up a feeble fight. And she goes, but it wasn't really Gray, I think was the boy's name. She goes, it wasn't him. There was a weird look in his eyes and something was wrong. And, you know, he called me by a different name and everything. So apparently it's obvious to everybody but her that this bad fae guy has possessed the teenage boy and raped Lucy, and now she's pregnant. And it so many levels of anger with this, because it's flippantly done, the mother's madness, the homeless aspect, the rape itself. The boy just goes in his car and crashes into a tree, so he's just gone. He's not part of the thing. Lucy doesn't want to tell anybody. Nobody knows about the rape, so the town is just devastated that another teenager died from drunk driving, even though he had no alcohol in his system. So and she has like she's got a couple of weeks where she's kind of quiet and she doesn't want to talk to anybody. That's her way of dealing with the rape. And it's not even that she won't talk to anybody. She's not really withdrawn. She's just kind of like, okay, you know. Finally, I think it's like a month or so later, she's getting a little angry. She's discovered, well, yes, she is pregnant. And the dialogue between her and her foster parents and Zach, the boy next door, is just so terribly written that I can't do it. I can't. And I don't mean to rant at y'all, but I haven't felt this strongly about a book in a while. And yeah, The Midnight Library, but this just, I want it to go in my recycling bin. It pisses me off. It offends me, and it is poorly written. And the worst thing about it was the potential with the impossible task from the old folk tune, Scarborough Fair, was really intriguing. And I was curious on how they were going to, because it's obvious from the flat that her and Zach are going to solve, this impossible riddle, and they're going to break the curse and everything. It's obvious that that's the way the book is going to go. But it's so infuriating that I just can't bring myself to get there. So I am DNFing this book and getting rid of it, and I don't think I'm taking it to half price. I don't know what's going to happen to it, but just no. This was written in 2008. I don't. It just, no. Maybe in the hands of someone else, this would have been a better book. What gets me, I just noticed, National Book Award finalist. So I don't know if it was just something that has not aged well. I don't know if it just struck a chord with me and just, but no. So I still have like an hour and a half of that class. I only got 30 minutes into it today. I kept trying. It's 3:30 and I started reading it. Yeah, I read from 1:25 to 1:55, so 30 minutes. And then I picked it back up and put it back down, picked it up, put it back down. I think I did that for like 20 minutes at least. And every time it's like, okay, I'll just push through it and see what happens. No. So I have a decision to make. Originally, during the spring semester of Magical Readathon, someone had asked me if I was allowed to drop a class. And I said that no, I was going to, I was forcing myself to finish my books no matter what. Normally, that's what I do, especially for something like this. But I had decided if I did that, if somebody else wanted that rule, to drop a class, you had to, of course, DNF your book, sacrifice your time for that day with that class, and then you had to wait one extra day, one calendar day, and then you could resume the class with a new book. So I haven't decided what I want to do. Here's what my calendar looks like. I had 2 hours with this book. And then it doesn't come back up till next Monday. So I have very limited time for this class, although this class only has one book. This isn't a multi-level one, thankfully. I think it would still be possible if I started over with a new book next Monday, but I hate to punish myself. You know what? I am not doing that. I am not punishing myself for getting angered by this book. So here's my compromise. I am going to switch to the book Lullaby. This is part 2 in the Water Song trilogy, or maybe series, by Amanda Hawking. This is teenagers, and one of them gets pulled in with a group of sirens. So this one, I've read it before, at least the first one, a couple of times. I can't remember if I read the second book previously, but I do like this series. It will get me out of this angry mood. And I am going to swap that because the prompt for this class was water on the cover a week, or a body of water on the cover. We clearly have that with this cover. So I'm going to switch over to that book. There's technically an hour and a half left with this class. So I am going to give myself 45 minutes. I'm going to give myself half of that time and just continue this class with my new book. We'll say that that's how long it took for me to plead my case to my professor and get her to agree to me switching to a new book. And that's what we're going to do, because there's no way. I can't. Okay. Sorry about the long rant. And, yeah. You know what? While we're here talking about, I'm going to look and see what reviews. See if I'm in the minority on this one. I don't think, despite the award finalisting, I don't think it was a popular book, but I could be wrong. I did get it on the bargain table. Have y'all ever seen these? These are called remainder marks. These are put on by the publishers. When the bookstore has excess left of a book, they will send it back to the publisher, who will mark it as a remainder stock, and then it will arrive back on the shelf on the clearance table. So I think I got this book for like $3 or something like this. So anyway, if you ever have any books with the marker on the bottom, that's what it means. Okay, the average rating on Storygraph for this book was 3.47 stars. Yeah, a lot of them liked it. I don't. But then there were a lot that agreed with me. The characters were really flat. Somebody was like, if this was set in medieval times, it would read better. And I agree with it. I think that may be the problem. This premise doesn't work well in modern time. You know, if this was more like a fairy tale, gothic fairy tale vibe way back in the day, you know, medieval times, then that would have, I think it would set a lot better than it does right now. Because right now it's just, ew. Okay, so I'm not wasting any more time on this. Sorry about the rant, but you know what? Yeah, sometimes it's just what happens. Okay. I'm going to go rinse my brain with something. I may watch a little bit of Survivor. And then I'm going to pick up my book and resume my school day. Okay. Good thing is, oh my God, the Fate deck knew. Because guess what? One of the 4 books that I will be unhauling is this one. It knew. That's kind of creepy. Okay, those, may have to warn Nacilla. Those girls may know more than she thinks. She needs to be careful at school. Okay, bye. Thank God my teacher let me swap books, because Lullaby, this one, so much better than Impossible. So it saved me from getting in a grumpy mood, which I think I was borderline. I was getting there. That book was just so aggravating. And it's really creepy, y'all. That Fate deck, I didn't realize it until I was marking that I DNF'd the book. But I also had in here where my bookmark was. This was the class that I lost 30 minutes of from Fenris eating the homework. And then, you know, the second card today was to unhaul 4 books. Kind of creepy. It saved me 30 minutes from this. And it, you know, foretold that this book was going to be going out the door. That's kind of cool. All right, so I just had to point that out in case anybody else missed that, because I completely forgot about yesterday's card. All right, let's look at my schedule for the evening. Don't forget, at the tail end of it, I have an hour for restoration too, because that one has to be started before bed. So I've got 2, 3, 4, 5 hours of reading to complete before 1 a.m., because that's when all classes start. And it is going on 6:30. So 7, 8, 12. I have 6.5 hours. For how many hours of reading? 2, 3, 4, 5. Whew. I got a long night of cramming. Okay, yeah, it's going to be a night of cramming. Hopefully, my brain will be able to handle it. I wonder how much of a pile of mush I will be by the end of this. So far, I'm doing good. I'm not feeling worn out or taxed, but then I also missed like 3 hours of class time today. So no wonder I'm not too worn out. All right, so the first one is astronomy. Let me find out what book that was. I'm juggling so many, I don't have it memorized yet. So, hotel. All right. So I get to go back to New Orleans and behind the scenes in a 5-star hotel down there. Okay, this one was rather gritty too. Yesterday, I know I mentioned it briefly, but Hotel has an attempted rape scene, and then Impossible had a rape, and then I also read, The Vampire, which was very gory, Abraham Lincoln. So, it was kind of gruesome yesterday. But I will say, the way it was handled in Hotel, much, much better way of handling it. Not saying that it was, it was handled better. We'll just leave it at that. And it wasn't, I don't even know where I was going to go with it. So, anyway, I am diving back into Hotel for how long? I have 1 hour with that one. So, I'm going to, I think, start now, which is probably about 6:30. I'll find out the exact time. Read for an hour, and then I will be moving on to Apothecary Keeper. And I think what I'll probably do is come back in after I finish that one. We will see, because I think the class is like right next door. So I'll take both books with me and just go into one and then right into the next class. And then check in with y'all after. So at least that's the plan. All right, I'm off. Okay. It's 11:30 at night. I just finished my Apothecary Keeper class, which was Maze Runner. Loving it. But I've had a lot of bad things today. It's all, I've got the dystopian and then, all sorts of trouble and drama and things happening in a hotel. We've got the terrible book, Impossible, that just annoyed me to no end. And what was the other one that I read today? Oh, Abraham Lincoln and the Vampire Hunters. So it's a dark kind of day. All of the books are dark and gritty and so I guess in keeping with that, I've got Elemental Studies next for my late night class, which is Madhouse at the End of the Earth. They're going to be stuck in the Antarctica. So again, it's just despair and dark and I don't know how this got to be so themed. It makes for a little bit of an exhausting day. But, they are good stories and good books, except for the one. So anyway, I've got an hour with this puppy, and then I have to start my restoration class. I think, honestly, for that one, I'm only going to do 30 minutes because I'm getting quite tired, and it's 11:30. So that will stick with my 1 p.m. cutoff or 1 a.m. cutoff. So I think that's going to be my plan. I have not picked out the books that I'll be unhauling for my fate card. I think, honestly, I'm going to do that tomorrow and add it to tomorrow's video. Because, at this moment, I would just reach over there and grab just the 3 first books that I touched, and I would regret that. So I think I'm going to make that decision tomorrow, probably morning, and I will include that in the next video that comes up. So anyway, I am going to go read about the Madhouse at the End of the Earth for Elemental Studies. I cannot afford to miss any time with this class because this is my major. All right. They are still setting up for the expedition, and I think they had just started to get underway. So I should be okay from all of the despair that they're going to be facing. I would assume that won't come until my next class. We will see, though. All right. Bye. I finished. Okay, I did my last class. In fact, I did my last two. Still enjoying this. They haven't made it to the Antarctic yet, but they are getting close. And it's a miracle they ever made it there. There's so many problems with the crew, and they almost capsized. So it's pretty crazy. And they haven't even gotten to the hard part yet. So there's that. This is very slow going. The print is small, and being nonfiction, it reads much slower. Plus, I had to kind of remind myself who everybody was. So I'm a little nervous on this one. I'm only on page 86. Not looking good. And then I also started restoration. I did my 30 minutes, and I am definitely going to bed after this. So completed that part of the requirement, which was read before bed. And I am completely lost. I read the first one, I think it was like last October, so like a year ago. I remember the overall story, but none of the details. So I might have to look up a synopsis of what happened in the first book, something to refresh my memory. Because I definitely don't have time to go back and reread the first book before doing this one, because I've got a second book in this class, so I'm getting nervous. All right. It's been a long day. It was a good day, but a long one. And I got to end with some I would call it lighthearted fantasy after all of the dark subject matter I've had for the day. So this was a good way to end it. Yeah, so I have just survived my 4th day of school. So I think we're going to call it here. I will let you know about which books I decided to unhaul in my next video, which I will be starting tomorrow. I think I'm going to put these out every other day, but we will see. I still haven't decided that. All right. Let me know how your classes are going for you, and I will see you in the next one. Good night, y'all. I'm going to bed.